Celebrate Juneteenth with the official 2024-25 Black Music Month calendar. This one-of-a-kind calendar features your favorite R&B, blues, and Southern Soul artists' birthdays. Artists like J1, Lenny Williams, and Roy Chibasney, and more. Order your calendar now for just $9.99 at ImpactTickets.com. That's ImpactTickets.com. Order now and get bonus gifts, a Juneteenth concert rally towel, and 3 Team Airplay compilation CDs. Order your Black Music Month calendar for just $9.99 at ImpactTickets.com.
This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to a special bonus episode of This is the G Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Tommy B. Very special guest is Reverend Dr. Christina Clement. Want to say thank you, Christina, for taking the time to come on today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And, when I hear interesting things, we have a lot of people who listen to the podcast and a lot of recommendations about people coming on the show. I got your information. I thought it was really interesting. You see I guess you would say the traditional people who are running, even the independents, the people who run every year. But this was something different. Christina, I want you to tell my podcast audience who you are and the one big thing you plan on doing. And, just go ahead and give it to them.
Okay. Well, I am Reverend Dr. Christina Clement. I am running as an independent party for the President of the United States. I currently have a court case going in the District Court in Columbia that's challenging a few things, which is contesting the oath, contesting the election, as well as the restitution for the transatlantic slave trade. The reason why I'm doing that, because as a presidential candidate, you are allowed to create the policy for the people that you are representing. So I chose to represent the people who are unrepresented, which is the Afro community, indigenous, aboriginals, so forth, right? People of color. And the main topic that our community have always been boisterous about is reparations. And I studied the law for 5 years to understand that language, to understand really why we weren't able to get it yet when there's so many other communities that were able to obtain it. And I realized that we've been sitting here waiting for the government to get it to us when we were supposed to just follow the instructions and obtain it and relieve us. So as a presidential candidate, I'm able to do that. So I didn't have to necessarily wait to be elected to do that. So I started the case, and we're supposed to get our answer by the 17th of this month.
Wow. So you're talking about, as we take, it's early July, you're talking about July 17th.
Correct.
Okay.
The case has been going on since February.
Wow. February
of 2024?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So numbers wise, when you talk about your coalition, how would you, or what number, or if you can put a number on your followers or your constituency, have you even tried to do that?
In terms of people supporting the campaign?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, everyone that I speak to automatically will tell me they'll vote for me, right? The unfortunate part is that most people believe the candidacy when they see it on TV. And as an independent party, the press has not been fair in that regard. And because of the amendment of freedom of press and all that, the government cannot necessarily force them to do it. So that's why I had to go through the court system. But I honestly, once, because that's part of my what I requested in the case as part of the problem, is to give you the same amount of press time as the other candidates that's there, as well as add you to all about it. Because one of the reasons why I contested the election is because as an independent party, there's a huge unfair amount of signatures in comparison to the other people. So the Republicans and the Democrats, right? So for example, for an independent party, I will have to get 219,000 physical signatures, while a Democrat will only need 26,000 and a Republican only 54,000, when it's supposed to be fair across the board, right? So, and that's the whole point of the electoral college, is to make sure that the campaign is fair across the board. So
when you look at the signatures, is that a process you've begun or started?
I didn't start that because in order to do something like that, you will have to obtain donations from people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I am representing the African American community, where a lot of them they claim to not pay attention to politics. They've lost all hope in politics. So here I'm supposed to go and ask them for donations to go into a web of unfair practices. That would be throwing their money away. So instead of doing that, I just went through the legal system. So now, once I get my judgment, then they will be mandated to put my name on the signature because of those unfair practices. So I save the community money that way.
So as you're out and about and you talk to people, just the general public, okay, Black people, indigenous, the folks who you want to represent, go into those communities. What are they saying to you?
They're proud of me. The older generations are proud of me. They thank me for doing such a thing. They're giving me their blessings. And then you have the naysayers who are in disbelief, right? Because they're just comfortable with the routine of the disadvantage of the community, right? I don't believe it. It's always going to be like this. But everybody, and I said, listen, our community is addicted to complaining, which some will call that a victim mentality. And the only person who can help you out of that is the individual person. You have to be mindful of your thoughts. You have to question why you think it's not possible. If it's happening for everybody else, why not us, right? So those people, though, have the loudest voice, right? And when they have the loudest voice, then everybody else kind of follows suit, right, to the height. But they have a responsibility to speak truth and not speak their ears. And that's the challenge that we're facing in the community. So my solution, because I'm solution focused, is to just prove it as opposed to saying it. So everything that I say will be followed behind with receipts, or my receipts will meet you before I speak.
So what do you say to people who say to you, hey, you're just taking away votes from someone who could truly win this election?
I would say that has already been done because I truly vote in the election. And by them not covering my press and my solutions, I'm at the disadvantage, not the other person.
Okay. So your expectation is on July 17th, it's a go.
It's a go. Because you have to realize they've been throwing out or dismissing all other cases that we're facing with reparations, where mine has not been thrown out. My case hasn't been closed to go to acolyte court. So, and
you're based, where are you based?
Christina? Now in Georgia.
You're in Georgia. Okay. Do you hear from any of the politicians in Georgia, some of the parties or any of the other?
I rather not intermingle with them, only because I am contesting the votes, right? And I don't want to put anybody at a challenging space who already took the oath. So the oath is to protect the Constitution. So my challenge is, how can I take an oath to protect the Constitution when the Constitution does not protect the people that I represent? So in order to take an oath to protect the Constitution, then we need to introduce laws that will also protect them and protect your minority party, where the scales will be balanced. Then I'm willing to protect that.
Okay. So Christina, I want to ask you this. If considering what you're saying, do you think the other independent parties haven't already given this a shot?
No. I think that because once you register to run for president, there's this rule book that pops out about 500 pages. I feel like what they've done is just went straight to the tab for independent party and then just try to follow each one of those steps. Me, I've always been a person that needs to understand the full picture before I act, because I would like to know, okay, if I do this, how does it affect everybody, right? Mm-hmm. So my solutions to running for president is going to not only help the Black community or Black America, it's also going to help all communities. Why I say that? Because with that giving the 500 quadrillion in restitution to the Black America and the indigenous and all that.
Say that number one more time.
500 quadrillion.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you come up with that number?
It's a calculation based off of 1.4 trillion population. But that should give each person about 357,000. But that will also be with the mental health and the repairs and the education and a trust accounts for each family based off of your last name, right? So if you're a Johnson, then there's a trust that will go into that pool for the Johnson. And then it will build your family that way. Since our community is driven off of family legacy. So that's how we'll address that. And then in turn, that's when I put the national deficit in the surplus. So everybody wins.
Okay. All right. I want to make a shift to the current situation and what's going on in the country right now and the climate. And you don't have to go into detail, just a general idea. What you think about the current situation, what's going on with Joe Biden? First, let's start with Joe Biden and the efforts to push him. Well, I don't say push him, but urge him to step down.
Personal opinion, without knowing him and based off of the information that I can see, I think that he does need to step down. I think that this time should be very valuable for him and his family. He may have some physical issues that he needs to address, but I respect his heart and his drive for wanting to stay in there to protect the America, right? Because I do believe that they had information on Trump that they just absolutely cannot allow to happen. So for that, I feel like he's amazing for going against his physical to try to stand for something that, will protect us.
Okay. Okay, what about Donald Trump?
Donald Trump, unfortunately, he's messed up really badly. And if we pay attention without the emotion and the logics, he's really being tried. And I say that with the January 6th committee meeting that they had with the Dr. field review, and then they have the other experts on the panel, and then they had a focus group of the community responding to that interview. And then with the recent Supreme Court ruling where they protected all presidents by keeping the immunity, but they took away his immunity for unofficial acts. So the next step, he's really walking that walk into his demise. So I'm not really concerned with his backwards winning, because he did commit a crime. And it's according to the Constitution, he committed insurrection. And they are going to handle that accordingly. But I believe that they're making sure they dot all their I's and dot all their T's, because he happens to represent a community that the Afro community is very familiar with throughout the 400 years of attacking and all that kind of stuff.
So do you think the delays are what you're coming from SCOTUS? Do you think these delays will help him?
No, I think the delays are helping keep what we know of the election process, right?
Okay.
Because if they're going to president now, then you don't have this election come November, right? So I think that they're delaying it in honor of the process of the election that they've set.
Okay. Let me ask you again, looking at the climate, are there any independent candidates who you align with, who you feel are close to your platform? Not an endorsement.
No, yeah.
But just
in terms of the independent parties, I respect Cornel West with him trying to bring unity to all groups on the university platforms. Mm-hmm. And I do respect Robert Kennedy because he silently, or he didn't get enough press on the things that he's done, but he's been consistently bringing lawsuits against the government for the wrongs that they have been doing to our community. Mm-hmm. So for that, I respect it, but I do believe he still has a heart to primarily get in that seat so that he can uncover what happens to his father and his uncle, Okay. And I think I feel like that's his directives, if you would say. But I do appreciate those efforts, right? Because those cases are not evidence to the wrongs that the government has been doing to us.
I got you. Mm-hmm. So do you think at this point, considering we're in July, are people in some way getting your story? Even if I know you're up against the July 17th, I guess you would say verdict, or what would you call that?
Judgment, verdict or judgment.
Okay, verdict. Mm-hmm. Okay. So at this point, you're continuing to stay out there, correct? And coming on podcasts, doing as many interviews as possible. How are you getting the information out to the general public about who you are?
Just running it. Honestly, it's just having these conversations. Again, I'm talking to a community that lost hope, right? And it's so used to the repetition of, right? So if I'm saying it without any physical, like, here is your check, and you can cash it.
Okay.
I think that they're hearing it, they're saying it, and they're waiting to see what happens, right? Well, they're not getting excited that it's happening because it's gotten excited way too many times, and the ball drops somewhere. Right? And I'm cool with that. That's respectful because even me, I don't want to get excited for something I don't know is going to happen. So in that respect, I'd rather come out a little louder when I physically have this document to say, I got your lands, and here's how we're going to proceed going forward.
Okay.
There's no questions after that.
Gotcha. Before we get into wrapping the segment up, I do want to ask you, give people, kind of fill in the gaps about who you are, where you're from, what you do now, all the things that people would want to know about a candidate. Can you fill in the gaps?
Where I'm from, I'm originally from New York. My parents are West Indian. So I have a cultural background. I've always been taught that my family stems from the Maroons, and Arawak Indian. And currently now I have, prior to running president, I own my lock salon. I authored Locks Links to Spirituality, which is on Amazon, and Reveal the Kingdom of Locks, Nazareth Vow Continues. It's also on Amazon, all 3 volumes. And basically what I was teaching is that locks is linked to spirituality and to be in alignment with the divine itself. And through those conversations with my clients, I've heard the discrimination over and over, and I'm just like, there's something wrong here. Like, what did you do about that? And it's like, oh, I just do this and I'm like, no, somebody has to be accountable for this kind of treatment, right? Because when a person has a cross, it's respected. When a person has a yarmulke, it's respected. So when a person has locks, that is their kind of cross or yarmulke to show that they have set this divine spec, right? So learn about themselves and the creator. So that should be respected and handled a certain kind of way. And that began my research into law Because to understand the system that's keeping you down, you have to understand the system. And that's when I realized that there was nobody really holding it down to anything. You just needed to learn the information and apply it, right? But they have what you call the Federalist Papers, which is like the forefathers of the Constitution's journal, right? And in that journal, it basically, they knew that we would emotionally try to get our rights, but they never thought of what if they use the system to get the rights. So with that, is like, I believe that the case is going forward. Because every statute, every law, every constitution, every federal law that allows me to make these steps. So it's undisputed.
So I'm saying, I mean, well, you know, I'm just going to assume you're a big supporter of the Crown Act that's been out there.
I am. Only thing, though, I don't think the Crown Act is as strong of a defense when it comes to law. You know, the braids and the Afro are, to me, a statement of individuality, where locks is a divine spiritual alignment, right? Okay. So it goes a little bit deeper than just getting your braids and taking it out in a month or 2 weeks or whatever, right? This is a whole spiritual journey and a healing that people actually go through when they have locks. But you don't really necessarily know it until you have it. And then you start seeing the different changes and things that occur.
Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff. So how can people connect with you and dig into the story and keep up with what you're doing and that July 17th date? How can they find out more?
So on the website, stateoflocknation.com, I upload every listing document that I file on there, so anybody can read the case on that website. The social media platforms, Dynasty Healing, I post a lot there, and TikTok also is Dynasty Healing Court. I post a lot on there, and also my Facebook, Christina Clement. I keep those social media platforms pretty much updated. In the State of Lock Nation, you will find that current. And if you want to go directly to the court's website, it will be Clement versus Garham, or case 124 CV 00479 RC. And you'll be able to see the court records from their actual database.
Excellent. Okay. Again, the website is stateoflocknation.com.
Correct.
And I'll make sure I get all the social information. If you can send me that, or if you got a link tree with all that in there, you know, make sure I get a copy of it. So really, Reverend Dr. Christina Clement, presidential candidate. I want to say thank you for taking the time. I know you've been busy. You got a lot going on. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Anytime. Okay?
And don't forget, y'all, if you like to continue to support what we do at This Is the G podcast, and you can see we go deep. I mean, we touch on topics and bring on people who may not be heard, you know, and allow you to give feedback. So if you like what we do, go to castropolis.net. That's CASTROPOLIS.net. You can leave a comment. You can support us. And we're trying to keep our ads to a minimum. So definitely give to the podcast, especially in the month of July. Okay. All right, y'all. Thank you. Reverend Dr. Clement, and I wish you the best. And we'll definitely be paying attention on July 17th. I'm going to touch base with you again. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. And with that, y'all, this bonus episode 228 is in the can. Want to say peace and power to the people. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to This Is the G Podcast. This Is the G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.